Hi, this is Paul from AdEspresso, and in this video I'm just going to go through the creation of some simple custom rules. Before we create the rules though, we first need to know how we can apply those in campaigns. And there's three ways that we can do this. So first of all, I'm just going to show you here in AdEspresso. If we go to where we get our list of campaigns here, then what we can do is we can bulk apply them. So this is quite good if we decide that we've created a new rule and we want to apply it to all our campaigns that are running, or just half a dozen campaigns or so on. So what we can do there is we can just go and click this here, and then we click the Start Optimization button, and then we can choose whether we want to have auto optimization, or we can choose one of our custom rules from the list there and decide exactly which one we're going to apply. And then if we apply one of these rules, if it's automatic optimization, you'll see there's this little robot here, and if it's a custom rule, then you'll see these three lines appear there. So you can tell at the moment some of these campaigns haven't got any rules at all, and some have got automatic optimization, and we can easily choose them all and start and stop them. Now, the second way that we can add a rule to a campaign is if we go to a campaign dashboard like here, then if we just scroll down, then we can see that we've got this optimization rules section. So this particular campaign's got automatic optimization running, but we could easily stop and start that when we'd like to, or we can select a custom rule there. So it means that as a campaign progresses, maybe for example, if you didn't want the rule for the first week, you're tweaking a few things, and then you want to go and put in a rule, that's really easy to do. And then the third way that we can apply rules is if we go to step 4 here of campaign creation, then we can see that we can go and choose our optimization. So we can choose automatic optimization, none, or any of our current rules there. So yeah, there's three different ways, depending the stage of whether the campaign's running or not, or just being created, that we can go and add the rules. Now what we can do from this is go and actually create a rule. So we're just going to go and hop over to the main AdEspresso dashboard here, and from the Tools tab we can go and choose the optimization rules at the top. So what we're going to do first of all is create a frequency cap. So to create any rules there, we can just press the Create New Set button, and then what we're going to do is give this rule a name. So we're going to call it a frequency cap, and then we're just going to delete all this here, and then we can just hit this to confirm, and there we go. So we've got our rule set and name there. Now a rule set can have more than one rule in it, but we're just going to keep it simple here and just have one rule in each rule set to begin with. So for example, with a frequency cap, this may be just if you're doing like a boosting a post and you just want to make sure that people don't see it too often, because that could be annoying them and basically wasting your ad spend. So for example, we can say if the ad here has a frequency, and we can say greater than, for example, 6. You can easily tweak these there. Then what we can do is we're going to pause it, and we're going to apply that rule every 1 day, and we're going to apply that straight away in this particular case. So we can put it 1 day of data, and then we just click save here, and we've gone and saved that rule. Very simple to set up that particular rule there for frequency. Now we're going to move on there, and we're going to try a different rule here. So the next thing that we could do is a pausing rule. So for example, maybe we just want to pause a particular ad if the CPA, so like our cost per purchase, gets too high there. So the great thing about these rules is they're very good too if you combine them with that human touch there. So you can create very complex rules, but generally what I like to do them is either like a safety cap. So maybe if I'm on holiday for a few days, or maybe it's the weekend, I don't want to be looking at Facebook, or maybe I'm flying and so I just can't get to the internet, then just basic rules like this can be good, like either based on frequency or based on CPA. So this particular one, we're going to call it a pausing rule here. So we'll just set this one up, and we'll save that name. And then what we're going to do here is again create this rule. And how we create these rules, very simple. We can basically click on every element and build them. So if you're never sure how to create a rule, just have a play. Very simple. You can see we just click on the first thing, and we can choose, okay, campaign, add, or ad set. So I'm going to choose add here, and then I can just go and build it and see what my actions are. So in this case, I might say, right, if my CPA is greater than $50, you know, imagine that like what I'm aiming for is something like $30 per purchase. So $50 is too high. Then what I can do on there is say, right, I'm going to pause it. And something that we need to think about is we probably want to apply the rule daily. AdEspresso will then check once a day and apply the rule, but we probably don't want it to kick in straight away and just look at 1 day of data. So we might say, right, 3 days. So it gives the campaign a bit of space at first, and then we're taking an average over 3 days. So if there's kind of a random variation on 1 day, maybe it's like say a weekend, maybe it was a really hot day and everybody was on the beach, not looking at Facebook, or maybe it's public holiday, then this kind of evens things out a bit. So like a 3 day or 7 day can be quite good there. So we can see this is a very simple rule. If it's over $50, pause that one. So we can just press save there. Now, one of the most popular rules that we use is a simple scaling rule. So we're just going to call this one a scaling rule, and I'll show you how we create this one. So we'll just save that name there. And then what we're going to do in here is the budget changes. If we want to scale an actual campaign, they work on ad set levels. So we can't choose ad in this case. We need to choose ad set. And so, for example, we could say, again, going back to this, if we want a CPA of around about $30, maybe if we're getting a CPA, that's going to be lower than $20. So we're going to go, right, we're getting a really low CPA. This campaign's absolutely flying. Then what I can do on there is I can actually decide to increase the budget. And generally I would do this by percentage here, but you can do by an absolute amount if you want to on there. Now generally with scaling you want to go quite slowly, so that's up to you to make that decision, but generally about 10% per day is quite good there. So I'm going to apply this rule every 1 day, and I'm going to base it again to somewhere kind of midway, maybe like every 3 days. Now something you've got to be a bit careful with this is going to be changing the campaign's budget. So what I'd normally do in here is that I put a little safety cap. Again, it's up to you what your normal budgets are, but you've got to be careful that, you know, this compounds every day if you're getting a really good CPA. And so you might find that if you're going, if you'd set this, for example, at 25% per day and you're getting a good CPA and you didn't check the campaign for a week, suddenly the budget's going really, really high. So always make sure that you put the safety cap in here. You can edit the rules later on, but that's something that I'll be looking for. So we're just going to save this rule, and then the last rule that we're going to create as an individual rule is going to be a reduction rule. So this is kind of like doing the mirror opposite of what we've just done there. So we're just going to set up the name, and then this particular rule we're going to say if the CPA is too high. So we can go a little bit faster now on these. Say if the ad set has a CPA and it's going to be greater than, so if we aimed for $30, maybe we could say that it's going to be $40. And then what we can do is we can then decrease the budget. You can see we can also redistribute budgets. So maybe if we wanted to keep the campaign at a set level there, but we just want to put the budget into the best performing ad sets, we can do that by automatic optimization, or we can do it by the custom rules here. So I might decide that I want to decrease the budget. Again, you know, I might just want to go and put, say, 10% in there. And I might then put that down until it goes to $1. And again, I might set this every 3 days. So we can save this rule in here. And then last thing that we can do is put them all together. So we can see that within this rule set here, we can create more than one rule. So what we might do then is we could name our rules as well. And we might want to say, okay, we could put all these together. So we could have a scaling rule. If it's getting a very low CPA, increase the budget. If it's getting a moderately high CPA, then we could be using our reduction rule. And then if it's got a very, very high CPA, then we could be putting a pausing rule. So we can start putting, you know, 3 rules together there. Now, some people do put more rules than that, but what I would say is keep them simple. Partly because they lack common sense. So like I was saying earlier, they're not really looking at any external factors, like maybe it's a public holiday, the weather, or anything like that. And generally, sometimes they can just, if you don't get them quite right, they could end up being competing against each other, or not having quite the desired effect. So what I normally do is just something quite simple, like maybe a scaling rule there, just so that once a day is going to nudge the campaign's budget up at a reasonable rate. And then I'd still check the campaigns manually every so often, just to keep an eye on any ad sets that are underperforming there. So rules are very, very good, but the simple rules are generally the best ones there. So hope you find those tips useful, and good luck with building your rules.